and we're going to talk No Mercy and the main events, the two main events from the show, which were Braun Strowman versus Brock Lesnar for the Universal Championship, and it was also Roman Reigns versus John Cena, and the torch may have been passed. So we've got Al with us now. Al Snow, how the heck are you here on Wednesday night?
I am doing fantastic, Damien and Dave. How are you guys?
I couldn't be any better.
I'm fantastic.
So Al, it was No Mercy this past Sunday on pay-per-view, if you want to call it that, from the WWE Network. And we talked with you last week on this show about the two main event matchups. And now that we've seen the outcome of those matchups, I want to get your opinion of where we might be going next and why it may not have been or may have been a good or bad booking decision. So first, let's talk about Brock Lesnar getting the win over Braun Strowman. Brock Lesnar retaining the championship, but throughout the matchup, Braun Strowman got a lot on Brock Lesnar, who, as you said, David Hero, sold like a champ for Braun Strowman. Al, what did you think?
Well, I think that what they did was that Braun Strowman was not the guy, and I think we mentioned that possibly last week in this discussion, that Braun may not have been the guy, we were speculating it may not be the guy to go with to be the man that would knock Brock off. But I think that they did a great job of making Braun going forward in the body of the match and being able to hold his own and get that kind of offense. But, they're building, they've got much bigger fish to fry. As far as Brock Lesnar is concerned. Now, who that is, maybe they're eventually going to build it up to where it's Roman Reigns that is the guy that, finally knocks Brock off, and that would be the thing that would make Roman Reigns, that would be the thing that would pass the torch. I don't know if John Cena putting Roman Reigns over clean in the middle is passing the torch per se, especially now that the word is out that he's, taking some time off for a buddy cop film or something, where he's going to star in.
Is it a remake of Beverly Hills Cop, maybe?
Maybe. But he, he'll be back, and to pass the torch, so to speak, you really, the person's got to be willing to really take a step down and take a step back, and I don't think John Cena is quite there yet.
Yeah.
But it was the right thing to do business-wise, I believe, because they've invested too much in Roman Reigns up until this point. And I think whether, he didn't turn heel like we had, I had speculated, but, they did put him over. And it was the right decision, I believe, to do that. They've whether he's the guy to go with or not, they've put too much into him to now second guess. And, Vince always says, he's willing to take 2 steps back to take 3 steps forward. But this was not the time and place to not go forward all the way with Roman Reigns. And they did the right thing.
It's interesting, Al. You say that maybe that's going to be at WrestleMania, or maybe you didn't say at WrestleMania, but you said it might be Roman Reigns who finally takes the title from Brock Lesnar. I see that as a possibility. However, one thing that was striking to me, and I don't know if you guys caught this, but he said when he was on Miz TV on Monday night that this was the biggest win of his career. He beat The Undertaker at WrestleMania. I'm not sure this No Mercy victory over John Cena.
He was the second guy to beat Taker at WrestleMania.
The second guy, you're absolutely right. Brock Lesnar being the other one. I'm not sure defeating John Cena at No Mercy in September is bigger than that.
Well, Roman Reigns didn't kick out of 5 tombstones from Taker at WrestleMania.
True.
You know what I mean? With John Cena, he took an exit adjustment off the top rope and 4 others. He got out of the crossface. Coming short of shooting Roman Reigns in the head, John Cena did everything, and he still lost. So that's why it's probably the biggest win for him.
And they really, they're using this. That's, probably why John Cena did so much and gave so much, was to really try to make Roman Reigns. Now it's up to Roman Reigns, regardless of whether or not Vince or anyone else tells him, he can't go out there and just, get beat by anybody. You know what I mean? He can't go out there and allow just anyone to get a lot of offense on him anymore. Because if he does, that basically takes a crap on everything that John Cena just did for him.
Have they painted themselves into a corner then? Because this is a long time that they've got to fill, with Roman Reigns, even if we're just getting to WrestleMania.
No, because he beat Taker at Mania. He beats John Cena Sunday. And now he has the next 2 months to, with only 1 or 2 pay-per-views going forward, he'll win the Rumble and then beat Lesnar at WrestleMania. There's no way you waste Roman Reigns beating Taker and John Cena in the same year to not beat Brock Lesnar.
And you can continue to build Brock Lesnar as the mountain that Roman Reigns has to climb. It's been done for over and over again in professional wrestling. You create that challenge, whether it be the almighty babyface or the the money was always in the babyface chasing the heel, so it was always more money into building up your monster heel and finding the right guy that you took your time and built up to make him believable in the audience's minds, that when he finally did beat the monster heel, that the audience was like, yes, we knew he could do it all along, even though they've been slowly being primed and being taught that for an extended period of time and before that match was ever even made.
Fair enough. Do you think it was a mistake, though, for them not to do the heel turn that you talked about last week for Roman Reigns?
No, not if they're going into the direction of, now that we have a much clearer picture with Brock Lesnar being put over clean on Braun Strowman, but making him in the heat of the match, and, John Cena making and building Roman Reigns so strong during the body of the match and then putting him over clean. I think that, Brock is going to probably take on the role of the protagonist or the heel, and, Roman Reigns will, remain the babyface, and, because there's just more money in the babyface chasing the title, chasing the heel, than there is in, a heel chasing a babyface for the title.
Fair enough. Al, thank you for your thoughts on that matchup. Let's move on now. We're talking about No Mercy. This is the Pro Wrestling Report Primetime Live. We're joined live by Al Snow. And the next matchup was the matchup between Braun Strowman and Brock Lesnar.
Clearly a memorable match for you. Really left an impression.
Sorry about that. Braun Strowman and Brock Lesnar. Championship was on the line. Brock Lesnar wins. But
he wins. He goes over, but he put Braun Strowman over during the match. And that's what's important, and what's the takeaway from this is that, you guys, and people can say whatever they want, but I dare somebody to find, another guy that, since he's been back and in the spot that he's in and the position he's in, that has done business like Brock Lesnar has. He has went out of his way to make his opponents, the opponents that they've chosen for him to work with, and sold for them, and put them over in matches. Granted, he goes over, but there's no reason for him not to. There's just too much money left on the table for him to not go over. And that would be the biggest misuse of a talent is not putting Brock Lesnar over and putting him over as strong as you possibly can, because he's the most easily accepted superstar up there right now, as far as in terms of, hey, if there's one guy that I know can kick somebody's ass, it's Brock Lesnar. And so you might as well take it and run with it.
Is Braun at all damaged by this, though?
Not at all. How could he be damaged? In what way? I mean, quite honestly, you know, I know there are probably going to be some people out there that are going to say something like that, like, oh, Braun Strowman, you know, he lost, he did the job. Well, first off, he didn't do the job, he did the favor. Okay, losing a match is not doing the job. Secondly, how could he have been hurt? For two reasons. One, he got a majority of the offense in the match. Brock Lesnar sold his ass off for Braun Strowman to make him in the body of the match. And two, he was beaten by Brock Lesnar. If Brock Lesnar can't beat you and you be okay from that, who can? I'm just curious. You know, if, and no disparagement, but let's say that Enzo beats Braun Strowman, and that's going to be a bit of a kick in the old yam bags for Braun. You know what I mean? But Brock Lesnar beats Braun Strowman. I don't see how that's going to hurt him. You know, not at all. And they can easily, if they so desire, you know. And I think we saw on the subsequent, show that they started building Braun Strowman right back up again, erasing basically from memory that loss to Brock Lesnar by having him, I forget who it was he took and, ran through the, was it Enzo?
Yeah,
he took it and he ran through the Titantron. You know what I mean? They've literally started the rebuilding process right off the bat. I mean, they're not, they're going to do what they can to, to where you're not going to be thinking about, oh my God, Braun Strowman lost to Brock Lesnar. It's not going to kill him off, not in any way, shape, or form. It's not going to hurt him one bit.
All right. Well, thank you, Al. No Mercy. Overall, it was a good show. Two big matches. I mean, I still think that these two matches could have been on one of the, the main pay-per-views or the big pay-per-views, including WrestleMania. And
I agree.
I understand why it wasn't from a business standpoint, but it goes back to this whole network thing. And I think WWE has almost put themselves in a situation where it was almost like when the Monday Night Wars started, and it was main event matches every week on Raw. Now that's our expectation. And now they're competing, I guess, not against anybody, but with themselves to continue to gain subscribers and have more subscribers and keep subscribers, that they got to give away these money matches on a more frequent basis. And I'm not sure how I feel about it. I don't know if I'm happy about it or if it's disappointing, because there's just so many events now with the Raw branded events, the SmackDown events, and then the major events.
I agree, and I also disagree. And that meaning that the best way to book, or the best way to write, or whatever new word that they're calling it this week, the best way to do that is to always be able to look as far out as possible and then build in that direction, always leaving yourself open to be flexible and to, because it's a living, breathing thing. But you always kind of know where you want to go and why you want to go there and what business you want to accomplish when you get there. And you want to try to look as far down the road as you possibly can. And that being said, for whatever reason, Roman Reigns is finally starting to hit his stride.
Yeah.
And they couldn't have picked a better time to have done this match with John Cena, because now it gives them November, December, January, February, March, until WrestleMania to build and really cement Roman Reigns. That's five months. They've been doing this now for 6. That gives them 5 more months to really build and slowly bring together the two paths of Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar to now have that match at WrestleMania. Because
they don't cross paths until WrestleMania.
They don't actually physically cross paths. Now comes the trick of slowly building them and supplanting this idea in the audience's mind, so that when it does happen, everybody in the audience goes, "Oh, I knew it. See, Roman Reigns is the only guy that's going to be able to take that belt off of Brock Lesnar. But, geez, I don't know. Brock Lesnar's pretty tough." And now there's back to what was fun about these two matches and what made them money, which was the heat on the finishes. You did not know for sure who was going to do what in these matches, these two matches. And that resulted in what we know as heat. Heat's a want, a need, a desire to have a question answered, and you had to watch the pay-per-view and see the matches and how they played out because you had an interest. If they do it correctly now with this 5-month build, they have enough time to build this in a way that will create that interest and heat again for WrestleMania between Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar, which I think is brilliant. That's the way it should always be done. And that's the way it used to be done years ago. You know, Vince would literally start planning for WrestleMania next year the day after WrestleMania of that year.
Yeah.
You know, you always try to look as far out down the road as you can, and keep in mind that you adapt, you change as things happen, and somebody gets hurt or somebody doesn't quite run the way that you think they run, and that gives another opportunity to someone else. But otherwise, if it goes the way you want it to, you've got all that time to slowly, subtly tell that story that builds in that direction, that now your audience does the work for you. They have that interest, they have that desire, and they pay to see that match, you know, which is ultimately what we're selling, which is the outcome of any match. It's just taking, and I agree with you though on your other statement, that is that, you know, if they're not careful and trying to put just big money match after big money match, you know, it could be very easy to kill off the very heat they're trying to build.
Yeah.
And that's where it comes down to being as creative and savvy in being astute in knowing how to first get your heat, knowing how to then build it and then keep it to where you can continually tease and put your heel in a situation to where they now have to go after the babyface, and then always having your babyface get back over on the heel without truly getting their hands on the heel and basically kicking the heel's ass, which then would answer those questions and pay off that heat. You want to try to tease that as much as possible, convincing the audience that if these two ever were to actually meet one-on-one in a match, when the bell rang and the babyface had the heel's number, and when the bell rang again, the babyface would win. But you don't know for sure because you don't know what the heel will pull out to keep that from happening.
Yeah.
So I have a curiosity and interest.
The wisdom that can only be told by Al Snow here on the Pro Wrestling Report Prime Time. Can't argue with anything you said. I mean, it makes all the sense in the world. But Al, we are about to go to your best friend, Robbie E, in just a moment to find out what he's up to in his daddy daycare life, if you will.
Oh,
but
probably learning things from Cash and Carter. I'm sure they already are teaching him some things that he didn't know.
No doubt about it. Tell us a little bit about what's going on with Collar and Elbow and how people can follow that great brand right now.
Well, they can follow us at Collar X Elbow on all social media. They can go to collarandelbowbrand.com and they can order themselves the wrestling brand apparel. We are going to be very soon, coming up in October, going to be releasing the fall line. We will have new designs that we'll be offering, and we're really excited. And we're going to have some seasonal apparel that will be coming out too. I think the guys have been teasing that we might put out a hoodie or something. So you never know.
Awesome. Well, it's a great brand, great quality, great merchandise as well.
I knew that it was a softball when I said it, and I threw it out there, and I knew Dave was going to probably say something, and I'm waiting. I'm
not saying Damien's a hoodie. I didn't. That's not what I meant at all. I'm like, who would wear a hoodie? That's what I'm saying.
Hey, as long as I got my Skittles, I'm good.
I was going to say, as long as you got your Skittles, you're good in your hoodie. Yes. Yeah, just not in Florida.
Too soon.
Al Snow, thank you for joining us. We'll talk to you again next week right here on Primetime Live. David,
thank you, guys.
No problem. Thanks, Al. And David, real quick, what do you have? What do you have?